You know, once upon a time, they said Trump will never be back speaking to the American public. They said he couldn't win. He would never be our president again. George Soros said that he would be a temporary phenomenon that would end in 2020. The thing that makes me feel the best in life is knowing that George Soros was absolutely wrong about what he said about my president. Trump has a lot of ambition and a lot of plans for this country. But as we all know, there are a lot of hurdles in getting to the promised land. Unfortunately, there are elements and there are communities within this country that will prevent us from reaching our full potential. There are whole communities of people that hate the American flag that live here in the country. They would frown upon watching one of these speeches. They hate everything about them, and they all happen to be from the Black community, unfortunately. And they've merged with the gay community. So those two communities now will do what they can to stifle us and to break us down so that we cannot reach our goals. What I've done is I've tuned these people out. You can't even join the military as a Black person or a gay person without them. If you have a conversation with one, they literally would try to talk you out of loving your country. They try to talk you into hating yourself, not having pride in where you're from, not believing in your history. They try to bring up lies about things that happened thousands of years ago. It's the equivalent of someone trying to describe to me how a pterodactyl sounds, but they weren't there. They're just literally, there's just something in them that wants to manipulate you to hate your country. But after listening to a speech like this, how can you hate this man? A man that's speaking about peace. He's refusing to go to war. And the gay and Black communities that have merged together are literally fighting tooth and nail to bring us to war, begging for war, protesting because we won't fight. You go to one of those protests, everyone there is either gay or Black. There's no heterosexual people with families and children that are like, yeah, I want to go to war. This is my son. He's 16 in 5 years. Take him. No. People who don't believe in family, people who don't have children, people who are anti-American are at these rallies because they want war. They want the corruption. They hate Trump because they hate law and order. A lot of these people are afraid of going to jail for things they've done. The grooming of the children, all the things that they've been doing in secret the last few years. They're scared to death. So they hate Trump because they see him as a return to law and order. Accountability is something that these people never want to meet because it won't be pretty. Remember, we're not even 2 months in. It's going to get better. It's already getting better. I didn't have the faith that some of my friends had that Trump could get over the finish line and survive this long. Personally, I was wrong. I felt like the deep state was all powerful and that they were going to do something to make sure Kamala got in and they would stop this rebirth of American patriotism. Trump being back in office has restored my faith. There is hope for the future. But don't forget, we are the last free republic on earth. All of Europe that we thought were our allies is gone. There is no freedom. No freedom of speech, no freedom of press. You can't even post memes. No weapons, completely disarmed people at the mercy of their gay, when I say gay, I mean literal homosexual political leaders who have an extreme disdain for them and for the public at large. That's why they have zero problem guiding the public into war. They will walk you into the slaughter like sheep, like cattle. And now they're talking with the Canadians about coming up with a nuclear arms pact against the United States. They want our blood and our treasure. They have plans to depopulate all the men in these countries using war. But what they refuse is to let our country be spared. The lives of our men and our soldiers to be spared. Zelensky specifically said, our sons and daughters will have to go die How do you know they would die? You don't even have no faith that we can fight and make it out of this. You're just assuming we're going to die because that's the goal. There is a mandate by the World Economic Forum for population reduction. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. Bill Gates said they can reduce the population by vaccines. But what was the backup plan for the backup plan for the backup plan? And what you're watching unfold in front of you is all the different ways and the different backup plans they have to reduce the male population, specifically white males. If you look at all these European countries and the American military, the soldiers are typically patriotic, young white male soldiers. Who signs up to be police officers and firefighters? Young white males who want to protect their country and help the public. They want specific. Look at the Ukraine, look at the Russians. There's no diversity in those armies. There's no mixture. That's why Putin said these Ukrainians are our cousins. We don't want to do this. Please stay neutral. We don't want to invade the Ukraine. Just stay neutral. Don't say you want to join NATO. The gay coalition under the World Economic Forum, controlled by that controls NATO, wants to get rid of this conservative, orthodox Christian country called Russia. The Russians are not going for it. And now that the straight, non-gay Americans have returned to power, we're not going for it either. We're not giving up our boys and our men to die because a bunch of gays in the World Economic Forum want to see them burn. But you got to think about it. If you're Klaus Schwab, who's 90 years old, when you were a young man, you were in the 50s. Being a young gay man, cross-dresser in the UK in the 1950s, or in Germany or in Austria after the war, you have a tendency to like children. And it was a straight white man in a uniform that's chased you into the closet, who you were afraid would come arrest you if they caught you. The World Economic Forum and its leaders are now having their ultimate revenge on the men who chased them into the closets by now going after their sons and grandsons, perverting the laws of our society. The things that were illegal years ago are now acceptable. And we're literally living in the wet dream of the World Economic Forum right now. Things that were illegal 10 years ago are now decriminalized. They're rebuilding a society in their own image, and we cannot allow that. The Americans, United States will not allow that, even if we have some that are disgruntled about it. Remember, we are a conservative country of Christian values. There are some misguided blue cities where we essentially are feeding our own enemies, providing welfare and housing for Marxists and communists. We live in a capitalist society, and we use our taxes to sustain a Marxist communist lifestyle for certain demographics and certain communities of people. That's eventually going to have to come to a stop as well. We cannot keep on like this for much longer. And I do see the change is coming, and there are going to be those that are going to be mad when we get rid of these social services. Guess what? The Canadians will take you. All these other countries that you think are better than the United States, you will have a chance to leave, and you should. That's what migration is. You're supposed to go find greener pastures. If a lake dried up that you built a society on, you do not stand there and cry about the water that used to be there. You pick up and you move. If you don't like the laws in this country, if you don't like the fact that we believe in family, God, men and women and children, we don't believe in the trans and the gay ideology and child molestation, we're against all of it. As a society, as a culture, as an American culture, if that's too much for you to handle, your best bet is to get on a flight, because there's two places that we have for people that want to break our laws and harm our society and target our children. There are prisons and there are graveyards. Every day I'm watching videos where people are like, look at this police brutality video. And I'm like, okay, these are the same videos you've been showing me for 20 years. 20 years you've been watching these videos. Why are you still in this country if it's so bad? If law enforcement, if you think law enforcement is just hunting you guys down for no reason, why would you still live here and have kids and sacrifice your children to law enforcement. Either law enforcement is not bad and you're lying, or you like it. There's only two ways this can go. However, you do have a choice. Staying in the United States is a choice. And if you are going to stay here, we will need you to follow by our laws. We are a nation of laws. We're a nation of rules. You don't have to like them, but you will respect them, or you will. There's two places you can go. Society works in a narrow band. For those who want to operate outside of this narrow band, there are two locations that are open 24/7 that we will send you. But targeting children openly on behest of the World Economic Forum, because you were brainwashed into thinking that you were an oppressed victim, that's just not going to be a good enough excuse anymore. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. And acceptance of the law is not required for you to have to adhere to our laws. That goes for every community, my own community included. But we tend to stand clear of all these problems. We choose to come to this country because we wanted to. We came to this country to work. We didn't come to this country to beg and to expect the state to take care of us. So we have different goals. I don't understand how anybody can listen to a speech like this from a man who can remember the names of so many people and still hate him because we won't go to war and we won't fund perversion and gender mutilation surgery for kids all over the world. It's sick. And if you agree with it, then you're sick and you need help. But again, there's only two places I can suggest that will help you: a graveyard and a prison. Pick either one. But targeting children like they're doing now, because this is a war over children, and everybody is in the dark. Nobody wants to talk about it, acknowledge it, but we're fighting for children. One group wants your children. One group wants to protect the children. Which side are you going to be on? This side? They're singing in harmony, "We are coming for your children." This is basically a microcosm of all the leaders of Europe that are now willing to send the men of their countries to die in war. If these are the men in your country, what do you think men like this think about men like me? Men who have size and men who will defend children to the death. Do you think these men are happy about men like me, or are they deathly afraid of us to the point where if they could, they would send me to the meat grinder so that they can go after children without anybody to stop them? This has been going on since the beginning of recorded history. And as a man, as an adult, if we cannot protect children, then what good are we? My opinion, we're no good. These people are openly telling you they're coming for your children, but to get to your children, they have to get the father out of the way. So what do they want to do? They want to send all the fathers to war. How many countries? All of these countries want to send their fathers to war so that these men can have access to their children. The United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Netherlands. These are all the NATO countries. Australia, New Zealand, full of white people. They want to send white men who have children to die so that these other white men can have access to the children. You have to see this, the bigger play. You have to see the bigger picture. This is bigger than Democrat, Republican. This is bigger than countries. But it's oh so simple. The message is clear. Trump has restored law and order, but it's up to us as the people to fill in the gaps and to also do what we can to protect children so that we can protect our future. Our enemy is not Vladimir Putin. These are our enemies. Pedophiles, perverts. These are our enemies. Men who will never have children because you can't have children with another man are screaming, singing about their plans for your children. They don't want your daughters. They want your sons. But they cannot get to your sons if you have a strong father at home. So what do they want you to do? They want you to send the father to the meat grinder. And all these countries right here that are ran by gay men are willing to send all of their straight men to die so that they can have access to all the children that no longer will have a strong father at home. It's a beautiful strategy for a pervert, but it won't work because we see through it. There's no way you can unsee this video. You're not going to be able to unhear my words. You won't be able to forget so easy. Now you know what the play is. Let's go accordingly. Like and subscribe, share the video. If you have any comments or if you have a counter argument, I'm open to hearing from you. I'm Right Wing Rico. This is the Safe and Effective Podcast. I'll be back with another story. God bless America. America first.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.